Don't Depend on Daddy is an unfiltered safe space, empowering young professionals to build independence in their 20s and beyond, whether it be personal, professional, or financial. Regardless of your age, relationship status, or job title, the most consistent person in your life is you. So join me and let's build our independence together. Enjoy! Winter is officially here, so today we are going to be going through some little everyday luxuries for your winter arc. If you're interested in a winter arc series, can you please let me know, because I feel like I'm going to be going through my own version of a winter arc, but generally speaking, the stuff people do during winter arcs, I kind of already do. But I'd be happy to round it all up into like a winter arc guide as a podcast episode. So let me know. But anyways, hello and welcome back to Don't Depend on Daddy, the podcast. My name's Michaela. I am your host. And we are going to pretty much just get right into it today. As always, I'm not going to go through the whole spiel. I think generally I'm going to start fading out my PFD template spiel at the beginning of these episodes, but I'm going to keep doing it for right now. Going into 2026, though, I'm going to be revamping the podcast episodes just a little bit. But anyways, as always, you can get $10 off the personal finance dashboard using the code podcast1. That is a podcast exclusive code. If you are someone who is in general looking to take your financial power back, get financially organized, especially as we head into the new year, I highly recommend checking out the personal finance dashboard. If you look at the personal finance dashboard and you're like, whoa, this looks like way too much, way too complicated for me, I'd recommend you check out the basic budgeting template, which is a more simplified budgeting tool. And then regardless of which tool you choose, I recommend that you check out my financial independence planner. I will be rerunning my FIRE numbers as we head into 2026. And essentially with this tool, you can map out how much money you need to have saved for retirement at your projected retirement date, whatever that is, but it will also tell you how much you can spend and how much you need to save based off of your income each year. It's very, very helpful for like mapping out your financial goals in general. So with that, let's get into the episode. Oh, by the way, all those templates are always in the description if you're interested. So now let's get into the episode. And what I want to emphasize here, because I've said this in the past, that I'm pretty anti-great lock-in, which is what we saw this fall. I am actually 100% on board with the winter arc trend. And this is because, in my opinion, and I mean, I guess this really isn't an opinion, but wintertime is the natural slowdown period of the year. So I think it's a time when we're all starting to hibernate a bit, and it's okay to really take this time to step away and work on yourself, especially if you feel like you both need and want to. I think what differentiates the great lock-in versus winter arc is more focused on generalized improvement, where the great lock-in is focused on sprinting towards your goals that you didn't work on all year long, which I don't really align with that. Like, I think you should be looking at your goals and reflecting on your goals consistently throughout the year. That's a big theme here on not only my podcast, but also on my YouTube channel, is like generalized reflection and keeping up with what goals you set month to month to month. So to me, that's what the big difference is. And it's why I'm anti-great lock-in, but pro winter arc. But I mean, generally, the topic today isn't winter arc. I am, as I mentioned, I think I'm going to just do a whole episode on that. So if you do want that, just let me know. But part of my personal winter arc is really embracing the winter time and enjoying and appreciating the colder weather. I really enjoyed my time living in LA, where I didn't have to think about the weather at all. I literally for 4 years didn't even have the weather app on my phone. I never looked at it. I never checked it. But now living in Chicago, the weather changes every single day. We have all 4 seasons. If I've learned anything from about a year of living here now, it's that Illinois, or at least Chicago, this area of Illinois, just experiences so many extremes with the weather. Like, the wintertime is very extreme, the summertime is very extreme. We don't get a ton of mild weather, which is fine, but it has just made me really appreciate, I would say, the more mild weather, as opposed to in LA, it just felt like Groundhog Day every day. Which, there's nothing wrong with that, but I do really enjoy the seasons and I've learned to appreciate them. So, with that comes really appreciating and embracing the winter time, which I think it's trendy to hate winter, but like low-key, I kind of like it. And I think the reason why I like it is twofold. One, because this year I actually have the appropriate gear. So, it's been snowing here a ton. I have a nice, big, long super puff. I have good winter boots. I have good gloves. And so, even though I've been outside and walking and, going to the gym and whatnot, being outside in the freezing weather, I'm not cold. So, I think if you hate winter, because you're always cold, you don't have the right stuff. So you got to get nice winter gear. I specifically this year have upgraded my coats to super puffs. Now that I have super puffs, I'm mad that I ever bought any other jacket because I genuinely feel like the super puff is the warmest coat I've ever worn. And now that I know how warm it is, I actually think it's priced very, very fairly compared to a lot of other comparable coats like a Canada Goose or something. So if you're looking for real honest feedback on the Super Puff, take it from me. They're worth it and you should get one because I never believed anybody online because I feel like they became such an influencer trendy thing. But now that I have them, I'm kind of like, I get it now. So, anyways, if you hate winter, you don't have the right gear. But the other layer of embracing winter is embracing this natural slowdown. I love being cozy. And I feel like every summer, I always get a little depressed, and maybe this is also too, not the only reason, but also too why LA, I think I felt a little depressed. The big thing was I don't like being hot and I don't like summer clothes. And every year when we get into this beginning of the winter time, I'm always like, yes, I'm so excited to put on my cozies, to bundle up, to be cozy. I love sitting in my apartment when it's snowing out, and it just feels so nice. So that's why I'm starting to really love winter. I'll give you guys the podcast exclusive update because I know back in September, I was like, oh, like I might move back to LA. At least in 2026, I'm not doing that. I am re-signing my lease in this apartment. I got my renewal back. My rent only went up $100. So I will be re-signing my lease. We're staying positive in Chicago for another year and some change. So yay, Chicago era continues. And then when my lease is up after this next, I'm going to be signing on for 14 months. So like at the beginning of 2027, which feels crazy to say, but I know it will come and go pretty quickly, we will reevaluate whatever I'm doing. Hopefully by then I have a fucking boyfriend. Anyways, let's move on. Okay, so we're gonna go through some of my favorite everyday luxuries for winter. This is now my second winter. I feel like I'm going into it with a much better idea of not only what to expect, but also what I need to do to avoid like the winter ugly, winter depression era. So some of what I'm going to talk about today are products. We'll start with products. And then I also have a couple of like habits and little things that I think are really helpful for embracing winter. I have this list here, but I don't have them scripted out. So this is going to be a little bit of a chattier episode if you couldn't already tell at this point. So anyways, I'll kick things off with products. So first, and most importantly, well, these aren't really in any specific order, but I think this one's very important. You need to have a super, super, super thick body moisturizer with a luxury winter scent, okay? Luxury winter scent means it should be like vanilla-y or santal-y or whatever. It needs to feel like a winter cream. If you get a summer cream and you're using it in the winter, I feel like it just doesn't hit the same, and it needs to be really, really thick. So I personally like the vanilla cashmere from EOS. I buy it at Target. It comes in a purple bottle. That's the moisturizer I feel like I'm repurchasing over in the wintertime pretty regularly. I also do like some of the moisturizers from Trader Joe's. I like the body butter like consistency from there. I think with moisturizers, I see a lot of this online of people getting like the Josie Maran or the Brazilian Boom Boom cream or whatever that are pretty expensive. I don't think you need to spend $45 on a moisturizer. I kind of think that's silly, especially for like your body. I will say if you are looking for like a luxurious moisturizer, maybe the Josie Maran one is good. But it's just not something that I would concentrate my money on specifically in terms of everyday luxuries. I think you can get a really luxurious cream without spending $40 to $50 on it. So I would just go to Target and smell all of the lotions and find a nice thick winter one and put yourself on a moisturizing routine. So I actually in the wintertime really prioritize, I'm not going to be annoying like this, but I do prioritize all of these things all year long, but specifically in the winter, I prioritize body care. Something I'm going to be adding into my routine this year is I want to get a dry brush because I really want to start doing some more lymphatic drainage and just make my bathroom feel kind of like spa vibes. But, anyways, every single night when I get out of the shower, I lather up my full body, not just my legs, my arms, my chest, everywhere, with a really thick cream. And I like going to bed feeling nice and moisturized. So, you should be doing this every single day to keep your skin from getting really dry. Moving on, next product, fluffy slippers. You got to have some fluffy slippers in the wintertime. I have a pair from Amazon. I just ordered a new pair actually from, I think the brand is called Minnetonka. So I'll let you know how I like those over on my Instagram. But I do have a pair from Amazon that's linked on my Shop My. I love them. They're $12.99. I bought them last year as soon as I moved into this apartment because I realized I didn't have any slippers. They are the best slippers ever. They're so warm, they're so fluffy, they're so cushiony, they feel like you're walking on clouds. I can't believe they're only $12.99. So if you need slippers and you don't want to spend a lot of money on them, I would check those out. And if you don't have a pair of slippers, you need some. I really do think that slippers are one of those things that just makes existing in your home in the winter feel a little bit better. I also am not a person who enjoys, like, I will not walk around my house barefoot. I think that's disgusting. I don't wear shoes in my house, but I specifically don't like walking around barefoot. I will walk around with like fluffy socks on or something, but I prefer to have an indoor shoe. I don't know, maybe that's an OCD thing. So having a nice pair of fluffy slippers is absolutely essential. At a minimum, a pair of indoor shoes, but I do think in the wintertime you should really zhuzh it up a little bit. Next on this product list, we have a fluffy robe. This is another absolute essential. I never used to be a robe gal, but when I moved into this apartment, the gift that was like from the apartment building hanging in my closet when I moved in, this was totally unexpected, was a really fluffy plush robe. And so I've turned into a robe gal and I don't know what I was doing pre-robe. Literally, what was I doing pre-robe? I live in this robe. Every day when I get out of the shower, after I do my moisturizing vibes, I put on my robe and I do my red light face mask and I just lounge in my robe. It's the best. I get ready with my robe on. Like, I don't know what I was wearing or what I was doing before I had a big fluffy robe, but this robe has changed my life. Doesn't have to be expensive. I feel like you can get a nice robe kind of anywhere, like Target, Home Goods, TJ Maxx. I do know that people love the robes from, is it Restoration Hardware maybe? They're like really big and fluffy. I know Hill House has a really nice robe. I know Brooklinen has a really nice robe. I think getting a robe as like a Christmas gift would be a wonderful, lovely thing to receive. So if you're looking to like elevate your vibes at home, I would recommend getting a robe and a nice pair of fluffy slippers. And like you will feel so sleek and luxurious when you're getting into bed and you're all lathered up and you're in your nice cute little robe with your fluffy slippers. Just the vibes are immaculate. Sounds really simple, and it is really simple, but it will change how you feel. And on the topic of this is actually not on my list, but I'm going to add it because it just came to mind. Matching pajama sets. So my goal in 2026 is to become a pajama girl. I always used to be a, old gym short and ratty old t-shirt pajama person. Never had pajama sets. I like wearing shorts and a t-shirt to bed. But over the last couple of weeks, I have just started to feel really grubby in that. And so what I did was I went onto Amazon, which, sometimes I buy things off of Amazon. And I ordered a couple of little Hanes matching pajama sets. They're shorts and a t-shirt. I will make sure they're linked somewhere on my Shop My so that you can get them if you're interested. And I think each set was like $15 or something. And I bought 6 of them. I bought 2 green, 2 blue, and 2 black. The way that these pajama sets has had me acting totally different, crazy. After I shower, okay, we're gonna go through the whole winter arc luxury evening routine right now. Post shower, I shower, I lather with my moisturizer. Okay, I'm smelling really delicious like vanilla cashmere. I put on my fluffy robe. I'm walking around in my fluffy slippers. I do my red light face mask, then I change and I put on my really cute, delicious pajama set. And then I put my robe on over top, and I'm like living the luxurious life, okay? This is a classic example of little small changes you can make to your routine that completely reshape and impact how you feel about yourself and how you feel about yourself even when you're at home alone in doing your mundane little things. Absolutely essential for romanticizing your life in general, but specifically keeping your dopamine high during the winter. In one of my previous episodes, I talked about this. So important to help dopamine, or like to help increase your dopamine levels in the wintertime, to do these little things that actually make you happy and bring you joy, because naturally our dopamine decreases in the wintertime. So if you don't have a little pajama set, I do think that that's a lovely everyday luxury. And I think the wintertime is a great time to get into them. So I'm really excited about these. I've been wearing them every night. They're really comfortable for sleeping, but also they just make me feel a little bit more put together. And part of like a broader winter arc is elevating who you are, becoming the woman that you want to be. And when I think about the version of myself that I want to be put together all the time, which means I have cute little matching pajama sets. They don't need to be expensive. I'm not saying you need to go buy a $100 Eberjay set. I'm not doing that. I'd love to receive one as a gift, but like, I'm not doing that. I just have the little Hanes matching sets. They're cute, they're inexpensive, they're functional, they do what they need to do, and they were really easy to get. So that is one of the everyday evening luxuries. Next, a humidifier. So my humidifier, I pulled it out recently and it actually is broken. So I had to order a new one. And in the spirit of buying less and buying better, instead of just reordering the one that I got off of Amazon, which was like $50, I took advantage of the Canopy Black Friday sale and I ordered the nicer one, which was $100. And that's going to be now my humidifier going forward. I've been wanting a Canopy humidifier for a while, and I just don't know why I didn't get one in the first place. It's a perfectly classic lesson of like, just buy the nice one when you want it, because I bought the cheap one and it broke. So like, that's so annoying. Anyways, I got the humidifier from Canopy. It should be getting here anytime soon, sometime soon. But the benefit of a humidifier in the winter is that it helps keep your space moist when you have the heat running. So I don't know about you, but the heat sucks me dry. Like, I get so dry when I'm in an apartment or in my space, when I go home specifically, because the heat's always on so much higher at home versus in my apartment here. My skin gets so dry. So having a humidifier running 24/7 from December 1 to like March 1, when I don't have to have the heat on at like as high, is absolutely essential for me. So the one that I bought is like the bedside one. It's a little bit of the smaller humidifier. And so I'm going to be keeping that in my bedroom so that overnight while I'm sleeping, I mean, I will have it running all the time, but when I'm sleeping specifically at night, it will be helping with keeping my skin nice and moist, which is a big thing for me. You know, I'm obsessed with skincare, specifically keeping my skin like nice and moist and plump. So the humidifier is really important. Having a humidifier in the winter, if you don't have one, you need to get one. You will feel a difference. You will feel a difference. Next, nice leather gloves. If you live in a wintry place and you don't have leather gloves, you should get some. I think leather gloves are so chic. They tie any outfit together. I also think, and you know, look, who am I to judge, right? But I don't know about you. I just have every year, I feel like I have really grubby gloves. You know, those like, you know, the ones I'm talking about. You can get them from like Old Navy or something. They're that soft material. They're just meant for like throw-ons. Last year when I moved here, well, part of my Christmas gift last year was I got a pair of leather gloves. I just got the ones from Quince, I believe. And they're so cute. I wear them if I'm going out to dinner or like I'm doing anything that's not going to the gym. I will wear my leather gloves and I feel like they just make you look so much more put together. I have black, they match everything, and it's a very easy way to elevate the winter look when you're going out of the house. So if you're looking for a good Christmas gift, I think a nice pair of leather gloves is a great gift. Like I said, I have the ones from Quince. They're leather and they're lined with cashmere. I want to say they were like $100. So they're not inexpensive for gloves, but it's a one time purchase, right? And it will really elevate the whole look. But if you want to get another pair, I think the ones from COS, I want to say they're also $100. Like $100 for a pair of leather gloves is probably the going rate. But I know a lot of people also love the ones from COS. Moving on, this is not going to be a surprise. A nice matching sweat set. So I have all the sweat sets from Aritzia. I have 5 of them. Honestly, some of mine need to be replaced. Somebody commented on one of my Instagrams the other day. I was wearing my black hoodie from Aritzia, which, by the way, I've had that for 4 years. And somebody was like, you need to get a new one. That's looking pretty ragged. And I don't disagree, but like it works. And I'm not going to buy a new one right now, at least. So I think that having a nice elevated matching sweat set is essential for the winter time. Ideally, more than one, so that you can wear them like on your work from home days or on like a Saturday when you're having a little bit of a lounge day. A matching sweat set is comfortable, but it's elevated. The theme, and this is coming to me live on this episode for 2026, I think is going to be casual elevated. Elevated casual. I'm coining that because I think that generally, when I think back through what I'm focused on this year, I don't really want to be all dolled up all the time. I want to be comfortable yet put together. And a matching sweat set is like the classic example of being comfortable yet put together. Find the styles that you like. All of my favorite Aritzias are linked on my Shop My, which everything that I always talk about is always linked on my Shop My. I don't want to have to keep saying that. But I like to wear the mega sweat straight leg, and then I like the mega hoodie in an XL. Oversize, oversize. If I were to buy a zip up or something, I'd probably buy it more fitted, but I like my sweatsuits, I want them to be comfy and oversized. That's just the way that I like them to fit. So if you're looking for a great place to get sweatsuits, obviously I'm going to say Aritzia. They last forever. I've had them for so long. They're comfortable. They look nice. You can get any cut in any colorway. Everything matches. It's perfect. So that's my recommendation for sweat sets. I know people too also like the Gap ones, but let's be real, like I'm not going to buy a Gap one. I'm only going to buy them from Aritzia. Okay, I have 2 more. First is a pair of wool socks. So if you don't have wool socks and you live in a cold climate, you need to get some. I layer my wool socks over my regular socks in my snow boots when I go out. So like, for example, when I walk to the gym, I'll put my sneakers in my backpack and I'll have 2 pairs of socks on in my boots and I'm super, super warm. I do feel like wool socks can be a statement, like with a nice loafer or with a Birkenstock or something or a little short Ugg. I think they're really cute. They have obviously a different texture than like regular socks. They're thicker, they scrunch better, and I just love them. I got a set of wool socks from DSW. They're nice to wear with your matching sweat set, lounging around at home. You can keep your feet warm without wearing slippers if you don't want slippers. So if you don't have wool socks, you should get some. And last but not least here, a really yummy winter candle. So I'm not team buy new candles every season. I've talked about this before, but I think having one scent for the winter time can really help make your space feel cozy. So I am actually like totally going against this right now. I have a bunch of candles. I'm not buying new ones. And most of my candles are not winter scented. But what I do have, and this was sent to me in PR last year, I never used it until recently, is a Pura. And they sent me a bunch of like winter scents, so like balsam and fir and whatever. I've been having that go off every morning just for 30 minutes to do like a quick injection of a nice, lovely wintry scent. Totally changes the vibes. Totally changes the vibes in my apartment. So when I'm done using the winter scents that I have in my Pura, then I may go out and get like a wintry scented candle. I'm trying to be discerning about that. But if you are looking to elevate your winter space, get a nice scented candle. You only need one. I personally too, if you want to be one of those people who like doesn't buy 1,000 candles, I only have 2 candles in my whole house and I don't burn them. I have a candle warmer from Amazon and it's the best thing ever. It makes the candles last so much longer. And what it does is it like gently scents your whole home instead of it being like smoky and like really, really strong. I also don't like to light candles because I have anxiety about the flame. So, if you are looking for a little like vibe setter, a candle warmer, I've had this same candle warmer for years. It's the best and it's great for making your candles last a little bit longer. So, those are my winter everyday luxury products. Now, I want to pivot into a couple of like winter habits routines that I think are really great for just elevating the vibes and elevating your day. They feel luxurious. First, and I believe I've talked about this in some of my other episodes, but we'll reiterate it. Slow winter mornings. So, something that, I mean, this is kind of against my own free will, but it just is part of the season. In the winter time, I am not going to go out on my morning walk when it's 2 degrees outside. Like, it is cold and snowy and icy and windy here in Chicago. And as much as I love going for my morning walk, I love a morning walk. I cannot do it outside. And I just have a hard time bringing myself down to go walk on the treadmill first thing in the morning. Like, there's something about that that's just incredibly unappealing to me. I don't mind walking on a treadmill, but I don't like to do it in the morning for whatever reason. So instead of doing my walk in the morning, I've been doing my walk in the evening. What I've been doing actually lately has been walking to the gym, and then I'll do an hour on the treadmill. I'll do my strength workout, or I'll go to a class or something and then I'll walk back. It ends up being the same amount of walking. It's just all kind of condensed to later in the day. And instead, in the morning, I've been having nice, lovely winter cozy slow mornings where I wake up. I'm still waking up early, like 6:37, and I will make my coffee, do my skincare, put on a cozy, comfy outfit, and then I will sit and drink my coffee. And this might shock you, I'll read. I'm trying to do more reading. I'm replacing that time with something else. It's so lovely. And I feel like what I'm trying to do this winter is really savor this slower period of time, knowing that it's only a couple of months and it's just nice to like really chill. So, a slow morning coffee ritual, I think shaking up when you work out, if you're able to, if you have the flexibility with your schedule, is really nice. What I don't like to do in the winter is force myself to wake up really early and do a workout if I don't have to. Obviously, if I have things going on and I need to do a morning workout, I'm going to. But if you're generally a morning workout person and you're finding that you're struggling to get up in the morning before work to work out, try shifting your day a little bit. Try doing it after work. I know it's also hard to go to the gym when it's dark out, but like if you're going to have more energy doing it later and you're not going to dread it doing it later, then I would recommend doing it later. So, yeah, a nice slow morning coffee I think is a winter everyday luxury, and adding that into my more regular routine has felt really, really luxe lately. Okay, next, and this also might surprise you. I've been in my tea era, and so I've been having a cup of hot tea at night. I don't know what I was doing. I always thought I hated tea, but I actually love it. Hot tea at night is so cozy and luxe. It's like actually low-key the best thing ever. I've been having hot tea at night, and I'll sit on the couch and I'll do one of two things. I will either put on a like fire escape on YouTube on my TV and have kind of like a cozy, vibey, jazzy fire going on, and I'll read my book. Or I've been watching the Great British Baking Show with my cup of tea and like a little treat, like a chocolate or a little cookie or something. So luxe, so vibey, does not hit the same in the summer. In the wintertime, when it's cold, having a cozy tea. I've been doing the sleepy time tea from Bigelow. I've also been really into peppermint and spearmint tea. It's a definite winter vibe. Like in the summertime, I'm not having peppermint tea, although I'm sure I should. But hot tea at night, everyday luxury, best in the wintertime, really elevating the evening routine. And I think that if you are like how I used to be, which was very anti tea, you should consider trying it again. Maybe you just haven't found the tea that you like. There's a lot of benefits to drinking tea too. Like it's good for digestion, it's good for relaxing. I started drinking it for sleep hygiene with the sleepy time tea. And I've discovered through having tea that I just like love tea. I love tea. So I've been really in my tea era. And then the next one here, I have two more. First is sauna time. if you have access to a sauna. So I'm very lucky in that in my apartment complex, we have a sauna and a steam room, but also at my gym, we have an infrared sauna. So I have access to a sauna whenever I want to go into one. I'm trying to go into one in the wintertime 3 times a week. It's a little bit hard because I need to time it up with my hair wash schedule, but I have been loving going into the sauna. I'll go in for like 10 to 20 minutes. I feel like 10 minutes is kind of like the minimum, but sometimes at 10 minutes I'm really hot and I just want to get out. So I don't force myself to stay in there. But specifically going into the sauna after you've been cold. The beauty of the winter is you get to be cold and then you get to warm up. And I think that's a really essential part of appreciating the winter is like feeling cold and then warming up. It's such a cozy experience. And so I've been loving going into the sauna. I think in the wintertime, it's a great way to just sweat and really cleanse out and clear out and detoxify your body. So if you do have access to a sauna, I think you should really make an effort to go into one. But if like you don't have a sauna at your gym or something, I think maybe getting a sauna blanket could be worth it if it's in your budget, or maybe going to like an infrared sauna once a month or something. I know there's a lot of places, especially in cities, where you can buy like a pass to go into a sauna. I used to book sauna sessions when I lived in LA on ClassPass, and they were like 5 or 6 credits for an hour. So you should look at that because that could be a fun thing to do once a month or every other week on a Sunday and just integrate it into your routine a little bit for like winter wellness vibes. I think it's worthwhile. But I love going into the sauna. I love being cold and then getting into the sauna. It just feels so nice. And then you take a full everything shower, like peak luxury. Peak luxury, everything shower, thick body moisturizer, robe, matching PJ set. Don't talk to me. Like I am literally living my life when I'm doing that. Okay, last but not least is having an intentional indoor hobby. And this can be active or not active, but in the wintertime, because we're doing less stuff, you gotta have something to do that's not on your phone. So this could be a social hobby like playing tennis. At my gym, we have tennis courts, and I have a little group of girls now where we go and we will play tennis once a week, which is really fun, really inexpensive, and it's just a nice social indoor thing to do. But you could also do something like crafty. I've been coloring a lot this winter. I'm going to get into needlepoint. I'm planning to take a needlepoint class. There's a place in Chicago called, I want to say it's called Stitches, and they do needlepointing classes. So I'm going to sign up for one. It could also be cooking or baking. So these are all things that are thoughtful and intentional that you should be thinking about doing in the wintertime. Sourdough, great time to get into sourdough. But find an intentional indoor hobby that you can do weekly. So again, it could be a social hobby like tennis or joining a pickleball league that's inside, or maybe, joining the hot yoga studio or a core power studio or something and getting into that routine over these colder months. But also I'd recommend you find something that you can do at home too with someone or alone. So something crafty, crocheting, needle pointing, knitting, coloring, all really easy, painting, and then also a cooking or a baking. So I love to do all these things. And I feel like I'm always doing something. I color when I watch TV. I love baking sourdough. As you know, I love to cook. I'm thinking about going to cooking school next year. So think about an indoor hobby that you can do. If you have a good idea, leave it in the comments, because I'm sure there are going to be people who are looking for indoor hobbies as well and need some ideas. So with that, those are all of my like winter little everyday luxuries that will make winter feel a lot more bearable and a lot more fun, because winter is something that comes every year. If you're a chronic winter hater and you're not willing to move to Los Angeles or San Diego, then you have to find a way to embrace the winter season, okay? Or I guess Florida, because otherwise you're always going to experience winter and that slowdown in some way. Even when I lived in California, we still had a winter. Like, it was mild, obviously. It wasn't snowing like it is here. But it was colder. It was dark. Like, we still had wintry kinds of vibes. So, you have to learn to really embrace this season, because it will continue to come year after year. And if you hate it, then there's always going to be a part of the year that you hate. So I'm really into embracing the seasons. And I think embracing winter is honestly really fun if you have the right stuff and if you have an intentional plan and hobbies and like stuff to do. So If you enjoyed this episode, let me know. Thanks so much for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to leave me a review. Make sure to follow me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you next week.